I'm Adarsh Kumar. I work in the Delhi office. I work on skills and jobs, mainly in the India portfolio of projects, but also provide some support to other projects in South Asia. We've been doing a significant body of work around skills and jobs in projects in South Asia, but we haven't been systematically tracking and measuring it, and we're moving towards sort of more systematically including it as project components, targeting specific outcomes around jobs mainly in the agricultural sector, but also in selected non-farm value chains. So what are the kinds of themes that we're looking at? Is, as I said, first high-value agricultural jobs, but also around inclusion, linking youth from poor areas to mainstream jobs, but also about more and better jobs in rural areas, about building specific functional capacities in agricultural value chains. So using curriculum-based approaches to develop specific skills and job roles in selected value chains. And what are the three kind of main intervention pillars, what I'd call the pillars of program design in this area? So the first is inclusion. So how do you identify, target, and mobilize poor and marginalized communities, including women, and link them to jobs that are being created in the mainstream economy? Second is looking at sort of agricultural value chains and jobs. So looking at specific functions. So for example, soil testing, irrigation engineers, sort of technical service providers in these areas that can build functions into these value chains, and training them and building their skills, and assisting them in becoming self-employed. So the target is that they earn their income through user fees. Third is looking at producer households, and why is skills training for producer households important? Sort of increasingly, as we're moving towards higher technology, climate resilient practices, and we want to spur adoption of these, using curriculum-based skills training approaches along with traditional agricultural extension systems really speeds up adoption of these technologies and practices. So what are the kind of components that we are building into our existing roster of projects? What are the components we're building into the roster of projects that are under design or have been recently gone operational in the last year or so? The components are one, pre and post training services. So that looks at things like identification and mobilization. It looks at counseling services. Counseling to poor youth is very important because they don't have access to information, and they don't have the often don't have the ability to make informed choices even when they're given the information. So enough evidence that face-to-face sort of counseling is the single biggest intervention that can lead to better outcomes for these populations. And then post-training support. So these are first-generation non-agricultural workers in many cases. These are they've never been outside of their village or their region. So things like migration support centers in destination areas that provides hand-holding services and mentoring to enable them to make the transition and to stay in the labor force. The second component is really about developing training capacity in selected focus subsectors. So these are things like, for example, sort of looking at hiring technical service agencies to do needs assessment in the main focus subsectors such as high-value agriculture, horticulture, fisheries, and sort of developing curriculum for specific job role training within these value chains. So again, as I mentioned earlier, so these might be paravets, these may be irrigation engineers, these may be hatchery entrepreneurs, maybe machinery and input suppliers. So developing a curriculum to provide skills training to these job roles, delivering training capacity through developing a master trainer and trainer pool in the state and the region and the country, And of course, provision of those, the logistics of providing those training across large populations. So, and training for entrepreneurs is also an important component. So here there are existing training modules that have been developed, like IFC's Business Edge or ILO's Entrepreneurship Development Program. And what we do is take that and adapt that to local conditions and needs, and seek to target sort of entrepreneurs in agriculture and allied value chains, so to lead to sort of higher, better outcomes in case they grow revenues, they grow their business, they spur employment, as well as strengthen functional capacities within those value chains.